What if the moment you fall asleep, you don't just disappear, you detonate? 1 second, you're here, breathing, grounded, then the world drops out and you're flung somewhere else. You're racing across a jagged peak, locked in a conversation with someone you mentally buried years ago, or wandering a place so alien, yet so familiar it claws at your gut. Your body's a lump on the mattress, but your mind, it's a wildfire burning through stories that hit harder than daylight. Science says sleep's just a recharge. But does that really cover the shiver of it? The way it feels too real to be random? Where's your consciousness bolting to when the dark takes over? Is it caged in your skull? Or is it slipping through cracks we can't even map? In this video, we're chasing that spark, cracking open the hard facts, the wild guesses, the questions that'll haunt you long after the screen of the dream fades. This isn't a lullaby. It's a wake-up call. Let's dive in. And hey, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and become a part of the Serving Your Success family. So, let's start with what happens when you crash out at night. You'd think your brain just flips the off switch, right? Lights out. See you in the morning. But it's not that simple. It's more like a shift change. Your brain's got this rhythm, cycling through stages like a quiet dance. There's NREM, non-rapid eye movement, where things slow down. Your brain waves drop into these deep, rolling delta patterns, almost like the tide pulling back, giving your body a chance to patch itself up. It's calm, restorative, the kind of stillness that feels like sinking into a warm pool. Then comes REM, rapid eye movement, and that's where the fireworks start. Your eyes twitch under your lids, and inside, it's a whole different game. Your visual cortex, the part that paints what you see, lights up like a canvas gone wild. Suddenly you're watching landscapes unfold, faces you haven't thought of in years. Your amygdala, that little knot of emotion tucked deep in there, starts glowing too, flooding you with joy 1 second, dread the next, maybe a love so sharp it stings. But here's the twist. Your prefrontal cortex, the bit that keeps you rational, the one that'd say, wait, fish don't tap dance, it's half asleep on the job. That's why the weird stuff slips through, no questions asked. And get this, studies tracking brain activity show REM can rival waking hours. Sometimes it's even more intense. More active at night than when you're scrolling your phone? That's wild. So you've got to wonder, what's it all for? Some neuroscientists reckon it's like a janitor sweeping up, pruning old connections, tidying the mess of your day. Makes sense, your brain's got to declutter sometime. But then there's this other angle that keeps nagging at me. What if it's not just downtime? What if your consciousness isn't clocking out, but shifting somewhere else, turning inward, chewing on things the daylight can't touch? Ever had one of those dreams that hits so hard you wake up blinking, half convinced it happened? I've had mornings where I'm lying there, staring at the ceiling, wondering if that cliff I stood on was real, or if the real stuff's what's fading. It's like your brain's running a secret shift, processing something bigger than rest. So, what do you think's going on up there when the world goes dark? Is it just wiring doing its thing? Or is your mind stretching into places we don't have names for yet? I don't know about you, but that keeps me curious. Okay, let's talk about something trippy that's hiding in your head right now. There's this molecule, DMT, short for dimethyltryptamine, and it's not just some lab experiment. It's in plants, animals, even us, tucked away in tiny traces like a secret ingredient. Scientists have clocked it in the human brain, and here's where it gets interesting. Some reckon it spikes when you hit REM sleep, that dreamy stretch where your mind goes off-leash. They're still piecing it together, microscopes out, data crunching, but the hunch is there lingering like a half-answered question. Now, if you've ever heard about people taking synthetic DMT, the stories are nuts. They'll tell you about blasting off into these alien realms, skies streaked with colors we don't have names for, beings made of light or shadow just staring back. Sound familiar? It's like the weirdest dreams you've ever had, the ones where you wake up thinking, what was that? I've had nights where I'm walking through some glowing jungle, vines humming, and there's this stranger dropping riddles I can't shake. Makes you wonder what's cooking up there. This guy, Dr. Rick Strassman, he's a researcher who spent years on this, calls DMT the spirit molecule. He's got this theory that it's not just random chemistry, but a key, Maybe unlocking doors to places beyond the everyday. Like, what if those surreal nights aren't just your brain misfiring? What if they're profound because they're brushing up against something cosmic? I mean, think about it. You're lying there, eyes shut, and suddenly you're somewhere. Not just replaying the day, but diving into a whole other vibe. On the flip side, it could just be wiring doing its thing. Neurons tossing out fireworks, because that's what they do when the lights dim. But still, next time you're drifting through a dream that feels too big to fit in your head, like a forest lit up from the inside, or a voice you swear you know, pause when you wake up. Was that just a chemical buzz? Or did you catch a glimpse of something way out there? I don't have the answer, but it's the kind of thing that sticks with you, right? Ever wonder if dreams can outrun time? Take Abraham Lincoln. Days before that bullet found him in 1865, he had this dream that wouldn't let go. He saw a crowd, hushed and grieving, gathered around a casket in the White House. He asked a soldier, "Who's dead?" and got the answer, "The president." Chilling, right? Then it happened, just like he saw it. History's got these stories sprinkled all over. People swearing their sleep showed them what's coming. It's not just big names, either. You probably heard someone say it. I dreamed about my old friend Sarah last night. Hadn't thought of her in years. Then boom, there she was at the coffee shop this morning. Stuff like that makes your eyebrows go up. There's even a study from 2014 that poked at this, tracked people's dreams, and found some lined up with real events way beyond what chance would guess. Skeptics roll their eyes, though. They'll tell you it's just our brains cherry-picking, seeing patterns where there's only noise. Fair point. We're wired to connect dots. But then you dig deeper, and it gets weirder. The ancient Greeks didn't mess around. They built temples for dreams, convinced the gods were slipping them previews through the night. Call it an oracle, a divine whisper. Even today, psychics nod along, saying sleep peels back the curtain on time itself. Me? I've had my moments, dreamed of a storm once, woke up to thunder cracking the sky. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe there's something ticking in there, something that doesn't play by the clock. What about you? Ever had a dream sneak up on reality? Like you saw the script before the scene played out? Could be your mind's just messing with you, shuffling memories into a lucky guess. Or could it be consciousness doing a little time travel, slipping loose while your body's checked out? Lincoln's casket, Sarah at the coffee shop counter. It's the kind of thing that sticks in your head, makes you wonder what's really ticking behind those closed eyes. Ever wake up and realize you're stuck? Not just groggy, trapped. You're lying there, eyes open, brain buzzing, but your body won't budge. It's like you're caught between two worlds, one foot in a dream, the other clawing for reality. That's sleep paralysis, and it's this bizarre glitch that hits when your sleep cycles misfire. Your brain's still half in REM, that dream-heavy phase, and it's got your muscles on lockdown so you don't thrash around acting out whatever's playing in your head. Makes sense, keeps you from punching the wall, mid-nightmare. But then it gets stranger. People don't just freeze, they see things. And not random stuff. Across the globe, it's the same eerie playbook. Shadowy figures lurking in the corner, a weight pressing down on your chest like someone's sitting there, this thick sense of something watching. I've heard it from friends. One swore a dark shape hovered over her, silent but heavy. Another felt fingers on his throat, although the room was empty. Me? I've woken up once or twice with that chill, heart pounding, sure I wasn't alone. Science has a name for it. Hypnagogic state, a hiccup where dream visuals bleed into waking. Okay, sure, it's the brain tripping over itself. But here's the part that nags at you. Why do we all see the same thing? Different countries, different lives, yet it's shadow figures and chest-crushing dread on repeat. Carl Jung, the psychology legend, had this idea that it's not just misfiring neurons. Maybe it's the collective unconscious, this deep well of shared human weirdness bubbling up. Others go further, whispering about spirits, entities, or some thin spot between dimensions brushing too close when we're defenseless. It's freaky to think about. Next time you're lying there, pinned down, feeling that prickle on your neck, what's it telling you? Just a sleepy brain playing tricks, tossing out shadows like a glitchy projector? Or something slipping through a crack we can't quite seal? I don't know, but it's the kind of thing that lingers, makes you question what's waiting in the dark. Okay, here's where sleep gets downright fun. Ever had one of those nights where you're dreaming, say, running through some wild jungle or dodging a dragon, and then it clicks? You go, hold up, this isn't real, I'm dreaming. And just like that, you're not along for the ride anymore. You're driving. That's lucid dreaming, and it's like waking up inside your own movie. You can steer it wherever you want, sprout wings and soar over a canyon, build a glowing city out of thin air, or just sit down with someone you miss and talk until the sun comes up. It's not sci-fi either. Your brain's in on it. Scans show that when you go lucid, your prefrontal cortex, the part that handles self-awareness and decisions, flickers back to life. It's usually snoozing during dreams, letting the chaos run wild, but here it's like, nope, I'm taking the wheel. About half of us, 55% or so, get to taste this at least once in our lives, maybe more if you count those fuzzy, did that just happen? Moments. I've done it a couple times. Once I turned a stormy sea into a glass-smooth lake and sailed it on a boat I dreamed up. Felt like pure power. But here's the thing that keeps me hooked. Why can we even do this? It's not like we need it to survive. Evolution didn't hand us this trick to dodge saber-toothed tigers. Tibetan monks have been at it for centuries, though. They call it dream yoga, training to lucid dream as a path to enlightenment, a way to peek behind the curtain of reality. Some folks take it further, saying it's proof your consciousness isn't glued to your body, that it can flex and stretch beyond the meat and bones. I mean, if you can build a world and rule it while you're asleep, what's that say about your mind? Here's a little nudge. Tonight, when you're drifting off, whisper to yourself, "Am I dreaming?" Keep at it, and you might catch it. Flip the switch and take control. Happened to me once after weeks of trying. I flew over mountains that sparkled like they were laughing. If you pull it off, what's your move? Conjure a castle? Face a fear? Or just soak into freedom? Is it a cool brain game? Or a hint that your mind's got keys to doors we haven't found yet? Either way, it's a rush worth chasing. Here's something that'll twist your head a little. Time doesn't play straight in dreams. You've probably felt it. Those nights where you live out this sprawling saga, like you're trekking across continents or unraveling some epic mystery. And then you wake up, check the clock, and it's been, what, 20 minutes? How does that even fit? It's like your mind's pulling a heist on the universe, stretching seconds into hours. There's science behind it, too. When you're in REM sleep, that dream-soaked stretch, your brain's running on theta waves, these slow, rolling rhythms that mess with your internal clock. It's not ticking like it does when you're awake, all crisp and linear. Instead, it stretches, bends, gets slippery. Lucid dreamers, those folks who can steer their dreams any direction they choose, have even tested it. They'll count one nice and steady in the dream, and it drags out way longer than it should compare to real time. It's wild to think about. Einstein popped off with that idea that time's relative, bending with gravity and speed. And maybe sleep's our little backstage pass to that truth. I've had dreams that felt like whole days, waking up exhausted from a life I didn't live, wandering markets that never ended, or talking through sunsets that just kept going. Have you ever had that? Where you blink awake and think, no way, that was just a blip? So what's happening in there? Is it just your brain faking it? Spinning an illusion so good you buy the extra hours? Or is your consciousness slipping loose, sidestepping time's rules like they're optional? It's not like we've got a stopwatch for the soul, but those stretched out nights. They leave you wondering if reality's as fixed as we think, or if dreams are dropping hints about how flexible it all might be. Next time you're lost in one, maybe count the beats, see how long it really lasts. Let's talk about those strange dream places that stick with you. You know the ones where you're wandering a town you've never seen, but the streets feel like muscle memory, every brick and lamppost sharp as day. Or maybe it's a sky that's wrong. Too many moons, colors bleeding where they shouldn't. And yet it's all so real, so full, you'd swear you didn't make it up. I've got this recurring spot. A cliffside village, all mossy stone and lanterns, with an ocean that sings. Been there dozens of times, and I didn't sketch a single detail awake. Where's that coming from? It's not just me. People talk about these dream worlds like they're half-remembered homes. And then you stumble into quantum physics where things get really out there. Some brainiacs, like Michio Kaku, who's all about the big questions, play with this multiverse idea. Endless realities stacked side by side, each one ticking along with its own rules. Infinite versions of you, of me, of everything. It's a head trip, sure, but it makes you pause when you think about those dreamscapes. The Australian Aboriginal folks have their own take. They call it dream time, this space where sleep isn't just rest, but a soul stepping out, traveling through layers of existence. It's not a bedtime story to them. It's how the world works. So I start wondering, what if those vivid nights aren't just my brain doodling? What if they're little peaks, windows cracking open to some parallel place where that cliffside village is as real as my kitchen? Kaku's tossed around this quantum consciousness bit, hinting maybe our minds can brush up against something bigger when we're out cold. No one's on a microscope on that yet. It's all what-ifs and late-night musings. Ever gone back to a dream spot like that? I'll wake up sometimes and feel homesick for a place I've never been. Or maybe I have, just not here. Could be my imagination's a hell of a storyteller, stitching details from scraps I forgot I saw. Or could it be something wilder, like a version of me walking those streets in some other now? Next time you land in one of those two real worlds, look around. Feels like yours or someone else's. Ever notice how dreams just slip through your fingers? You wake up from this wild ride. Maybe you were racing through a golden field, wind in your hair, or laughing with someone you haven't seen in years. And for a split second, it's right there, sharp as a photo. You think, I've got this one. No way I'm losing it. But then you roll over, blink a few times, and poof, it's gone like it never happened. Most of them vanish that fast, don't they? There's a reason behind it, or at least part of one. Your brain's got this memory keeper, the hippocampus, sitting there like a diligent scribe, logging your days. When you're awake, it's on duty, filing away the coffee you spilled or that song stuck in your head. But in sleep, especially when dreams kick in with those theta waves rolling slow and loose, it's not so keen on locking things down. Dreams are this chaotic swirl. Images, feelings, nonsense. And the hippocampus just shrugs like, nah, this isn't sticking around. Most of it gets tossed before you even open your eyes. And yet, some don't fade. I got this one from years back. A red door on a hill, creaking open to nothing but stars. No idea why that stuck, but it's still vivid, like I could walk through it tomorrow. Why do those hang on? The science folks say forgetting's a safety net. Keeps your head from drowning in every weird night you've had. Stops the lines between real and not real from blurring too much. Makes sense. You don't want to spend your day wondering if that dragon chase actually happened. But then you start to wonder, is it just cleanup or something trickier? What if your brain's filtering on purpose, guarding the edges of what you're supposed to know, letting the fluff drift off, but holding on to the bits that matter? Those dreams that cling, like that red door, or maybe one you've got, could they be flagged for a reason? I've lost plenty I swore I'd keep, reaching for them as they melt away, but the ones that stay, they feel heavier somehow. Ever had that? A dream you can't shake, or one you fight to hold on to as it slips? Is it random, or is it your mind picking what's worth keeping? Here's a funny thing about dreams. You can die in them and still wake up breathing. That old saying, die in a dream, die for real. It's bunk, thank goodness. But it happens, doesn't it? You're there, maybe tumbling off a cliff or fading out in some quiet, strange way, and then, snap, you're back, heart thumping, staring at the ceiling. I've had it once or twice. A free fall that felt endless, then this weird calm washing over me before my eyes popped open. Always fine, just a little rattled. There's something to it, though. People who study this say it often ties to big stuff. Stress piling up, or a shift brewing inside you. You fall, you fade, and when you land, there's this clarity, like the dream shook something loose. Near-death survivors talk about it too. Those moments where they flatlined and floated, saw light or faces. Felt weightless. It's eerie how much that echoes a dream's goodbye, isn't it? Like your brain's dipping a toe into the deep end without jumping all the way in. But why? I've heard folks, Mystics, shamans call it kind of practice run. They say your soul's testing the waters, flexing for the big letting go someday, learning how to slip free. Sounds heavy, but there's a poetry to it. Like every dream death is a quiet rehearsal, a whisper of what's beyond. On the other hand, science keeps it simpler. It's a metaphor, they say, your mind wrapping big changes or fears into a story. Falling off that cliff because you're shedding something old, waking up lighter for it. I don't know which lands closer. I've woken from those dreams feeling different. Not scared exactly. More like I left a piece behind and brought something new back. Ever had that? A dream where you die and wake up shifted, like you've been through something real? Is it just your head spinning symbols, working through the day's mess? Or is it tapping something primal? Some old, quiet part of you that knows how to let go. Next time it happens, maybe linger there a minute. What's it leaving you with? Sleep's never just been sleep, has it? Every corner of the world's got a story about it, a way of wrestling with what happens when we drift off. Take the ancient Egyptians. They didn't mess around. They built these dream temples, whole sanctuaries carved out along the Nile, because they were dead sure the gods were whispering through the night. You'd lie there, incense curling in the air, waiting for a vision, a message from Osiris or some divine nudge to sort your life out. Dreams weren't random to them. They were sacred, a hotline to something bigger. Then there's the Aboriginal people in Australia with their dream time. It's not just a tale, it's the backbone of everything. Sleep's where the world got made, where ancestors still roam, weaving past, present, and future into one big tapestry. You don't just dream, you step into creation itself, walking with spirits across a land that's alive. I heard an elder once say, it's not about shutting off, it's about waking up somewhere else. Makes you rethink that snooze button, huh? Fast forward to now, and we're still chasing it. Swap the temples for labs, the incense for electrodes. We're wiring up brains, watching those wavy lines dance on screens, trying to crack the same old riddle. What's going on in there? We got tech the pharaohs couldn't dream of, but we're asking what they did. Where's this taking us? It's wild how it all echoes. Egyptians saw gods, Aboriginals saw origins, we see neurons. And yet there's this thread tying it together like we're all sniffing around the same mystery. Are we tapping into one big truth, just painting it with different colors? A shared hum of consciousness thrumming through time, from hieroglyphs to brain scans? I wonder what my grandmother would have said. She used to tell me dreams were the dead checking in, leaving little signs if you paid attention. What's your corner of the world say? Ever heard an old story from your family about what the night's hiding? Maybe it's all pointing to something we're still too sleepy to name. Let's take a step back and get a little weird with it. People have been scratching their heads about dreams forever, but philosophers, they're the ones who really twist the knife. Picture René Descartes, this 17th century guy hunched over his desk, ink-stained and restless. He's got this nagging question. How do I know I'm not dreaming right now? I mean, think about it. You're sitting here watching this, feeling the chair under you or the phone in your hand. Seems solid, right? But in a dream, it's the same. Everything's real until it's not. Descartes couldn't shake it. He figured maybe his sneaky demon was rigging the whole show, making him by the illusion. Fast forward, and we've got new spins on that. There's this simulation theory floating around now. Folks like Nick Bostrom saying, hey, what if life's just a really good VR game? Some super advanced system running us like code, dreams and all. It's not a huge leap from there to wonder. If waking's a program, what's sleep? A glitch? A subroutine? I've had moments where I wake up groggy, and for a split second, I'm not sure which side's up. Do I just leave the real bit or land in it? It messes with you. If your consciousness is the one spinning the dream, building cliffs and faces out of nothing, then what's it doing when you're awake? Crafting this too? Where's the cutoff? I've caught myself midday, staring out a window, thinking this feels too crisp. Am I still in it? Maybe waking's just a dream with better lighting, a sharper script we've bought into. Or maybe sleep's the clue, peeling back the curtain to show how flimsy the whole setup is. Ever had that flicker yourself? A second where you doubt the ground you're on. Like reality's a little too smooth to trust? Descartes didn't have an answer, just more questions. Simulation folks don't either. But once it's in your head, it's tough to shake. What's the real story your mind's telling you? Okay, let's flip this whole dream thing into something you can grab hold of. Sleep's not just this weird trip your brain takes. It's doing work, shaping you in ways you might not even clock. Ever tried keeping a dream journal? Just a notebook by your bed, scribbling down whatever you snag before it melts away. I started doing it a while back. Jotted down this one where it was climbing a tree that kept growing, branches twisting like they had a mind of their own. Sounds random, but the more you write, the more you remember. It's like training your brain to hang onto those night flicks instead of letting them slip through the cracks. Then there's lucid dreaming, where you take the reins. You can nudge yourself into it with reality checks. All day ask, am I dreaming? Look at your hands, a clock. If it's off, you might catch it mid-dream and bam, you're flying. I've pulled it off a few times. Once I dove off a rooftop and glided over this glowing city, tweaking the skyline as I went. It's not just fun, it's like flexing a muscle. Science backs this up too. Sleep's a memory booster, knitting together what you learned all day. Einstein swore his relativity ideas sparked from dreams, those hazy flashes lighting up equations he couldn't crack awake. But here's where it gets juicy. What if it's more than a perk? Some folks, artists, therapists, even regular dream chasers, say it's this untapped gold mine. Journaling's not just recall. It's a mirror. Those trees I climbed? Turned out I was wrestling some big decision, and writing it down cracked it open. Lucid dreaming's not just play. It's facing fears or brainstorming in a sandbox nothing else touches. I've heard people say they've solved problems mid-flight or hashed out old hurts with dream versions of folks they'd never face awake. Give a shot. Tonight, scribble whatever drifts up when you wake. Doesn't have to be fancy, just catch it. What's it showing you? A random reel or a quiet nudge about something you've been dodging? Could be your mind's handing you tools you didn't know you had, while you build with them. So, here we are, back where we started, staring into the dark. Where does your consciousness go when you shut your eyes? We've wandered through a lot tonight, haven't we? Your brain's humming away in there, a little orchestra of waves and chemicals, theta rhythms stretching time, neurons sparking worlds so vivid you'd swear you could touch them. That's the nuts and bolts of it. A mind that doesn't quit, weaving stories while your body recharges. But then we pushed further, past the edges of what we can pin down. Time bends in your sleep. Whole days unfurling in a blink. Dreamscapes feel too real, like towns you've lived in or skies you've breathed under, hinting at something bigger. Parallel threads, maybe or echoes of a multiverse we can't map. Lincoln saw his end. Shadow figures haunt us all. Lucid flights hand you the reins. History's whispered it. Cultures have carved it into their bones. Philosophers have scratched at it for centuries. Your own nights toss in their piece too. Those dreams that fade like smoke, or the ones that stick heavy and sharp like they're trying to tell you something. What's it all mean? Could be it's just neurons doing their dance, a firework show in your skull that fizzles out by morning. Simple, clean. Your brain's a machine, and sleep's the oil. Or maybe it's wilder. A doorway cracking open, a quiet shuffle of your soul across time's edge into realms we haven't named yet. Egyptians heard gods, aboriginals walked with creation, Descartes doubted his desk. Me, I've woken up wondering if I left part of myself back there. What about you? Every night, you're stepping into this endless frontier, living a mystery we're all part of. Sleep's not just a break. It's a pulse, a question mark you wear like a second skin. What do you think's waiting when the lights go out? Is it chaos or a compass? I don't have the final word. Maybe no one does. But here's what's clear. You're not just drifting through the night. You're the one stepping into that endless frontier every single time, shaping it, ruling it, making it yours. So, claim your throne. Drop, I am a master and ruler of my dreams in the comments below to stake it loud and proud. You're not just sleeping. You're commanding a universe within. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to hit the like button, share it with someone who could use this message today, and subscribe for more. And if you would like to support the channel, consider tapping the super thanks button found below. Your support helps us grow this amazing community, and I'm deeply grateful for it. As we part for now, always remember your light, your love, and your presence are a gift to the world. Until next time, keep trusting in the process and know that everything is unfolding perfectly for you. Keep your beautiful light shining bright.